Welcome back. Let's bring in our panel right now. With us today, former state party chair for the Indiana Democrats, Robin Winston, and former GOP lawmaker Mike Murphy, along with you, Indy political science professor Dr. Laura Wilson, and Politico's Adam Wren, who's also the author of the Importantville newsletter on Indiana politics. Adam, we start with this search at Mike Pence's home on Friday. You were there. What did you see? What are you hearing about this?
Yeah, well, as of 8 a.m. on Friday, nobody was there. You could see kind of no cars in the driveway, but an hour later, there were 6 network cameras and drones hovering over, as well as the Carmel Police Department officer there explaining that that this was part of the classified search. And really, for Pence, this was concluded in 5 hours, and they found only one document. I'm not really sure that it changes the equation for him politically beyond where he was a week ago.
And Pence's team was pretty forthcoming right afterwards about what was found and what happened and what they're doing now. Laura, this, as the former VP, of course, continues to consider a run for president, still waiting also on an official decision from President Biden as well after the State of the Union, an address that definitely saw some heated moments there on the House floor.
They did, and I think when you saw that back and forth kind of ad-libbed heckling moments between the president and the Republicans, it tells you how much our political climate has changed, because during President Barack Obama's term, when he gave an address and someone yelled liar, that was the headline the next day. And this was in some ways to be expected. But I think for President Biden having Gallup polls at 41%, right? This was a really important address to reach out to the independents, to the moderates, somewhat of a precursor to the campaign for 2024, and emphasizing what he's done, but also why voters should select him again for 4 more years.
Robin, do you think he succeeded in that regard? How well did he deliver his message, and what do you think it has to say about his desire to run again in 2024? At a time where we should point out he's got a new chief of staff, right? Indy native Ron Klain departing the White House this past week, and perhaps may play a role in his re-election campaign.
I think he did an outstanding job. I mean, he was ready. He respects the institution. Think about it. I mean, he's going back on the floor where he served as a senator, as a vice president, sat right behind other presidents the other president as he delivered his speech. I think he did a great job. 73 minutes, but he worked the floor. I mean, he stopped and talked to people. Frank Mervan from Indiana got his plug in for steel and things in Indiana. I think the president did a great job.
Mike, your response to that and your reaction to what you saw at the State of the Union?
Well, I think it was the most unusual State of the Union speech I've ever seen, to have a president actually pause his speech and debate the opposition.
Sort of negotiated Social Security right there
ad hoc.
on the floor.
But I think, at one point I thought he was losing control a little bit, but he got it back, and I think he did a pretty brilliant job of getting the advantage. The sad thing was the classless protest by Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't know what she was doing in the Phyllis Diller outfit and why she felt she had to scream out liar, but she made a fool of herself, and she tarnished the Republican caucus as well.
You did see Kevin McCarthy there in the back kind of trying to shush members of his caucus. Adam, another interesting moment here, kind of a bipartisan moment, came this week. Congressman Jim Banks inviting a guest from the Democratic Party, State Rep Phil Giaquinta, who's also from Fort Wayne, to attend the State of the Union as his guest.
Yeah, I thought that was a classy move from Representative Jim Banks. He's had a really good week in Indiana politics, from potentially clearing the Indiana Senate field to making his Democratic counterpart here in the State House an important part of his State of the Union optics.
And Laura, we don't often see that kind of bipartisan invitation, though as Adam mentioned, it comes as Banks is trying to cement his status as a front runner in the race for Senate and perhaps appeal to voters beyond just the Republican primary electorate.
Regardless of the motivation, I think it's terrific. And it's great to highlight it. I'm glad we're talking about it. This is exactly what you expect to see. And they don't have to agree on how they felt the speech went or the points and the policies. They don't.
For that matter.
But to have that kind of moment of bipartisanship is exactly what we need in American politics.
All right. Meantime, at the State House this week, we're approaching the halfway point of this year's legislative session. This week, we learned from a State House analysis that a bill from House Republicans to crack down on state pension investments that consider environmental or social factors, called ESG, could actually cost the state billions of dollars.
Other states that have done this have lost money in their pension funds. I think the fiscal analysis was we would lose approximately $6.5 billion over 10 years.
How important is it to not have a big fiscal impact like the
well, we don't really want a $6 billion impact. That might change our budgeting process a little bit, so we're going to try and avoid that.
We're going to try and avoid that, he said. Mike, this is a bill that the typically conservative Indiana chamber opposes, but it's also become among the latest battles in the culture wars these days. How do you see this playing out in the Senate?
What you're doing is submitting the political judgment of a part-time legislature, of which I was one. I'm not an expert in anything, frankly, but substituting the political judgment of the General Assembly for the business judgment of professional money managers who know how to maximize returns. Let me give you an example. You know, what's your definition of socially responsible? If you're in favor of electric cars, that means you're also in favor of the slave labor in Africa where they're mining cobalt and other rare earth minerals. So where do you come down? What's right, what's wrong? It's not an easy decision that can be voted on by a bunch of part-timers.
Robin, what do you make of this bill, and what else are you watching this year at the state?
Well, the Speaker said a few weeks ago that we were facing a possible recession. I don't know in the middle of a recession that you would take away a chance to have $6 billion in pension funds. This is important. People have worked looking forward to this money at the end of the rainbow, and now they could have that depleted. All because you disagree on some social issue. What happens when we come back and people look not only in the market going down, but also you lost $6 billion of investments? That doesn't make any sense.
And more broadly, Adam, this is just a number of bills here at the State House this year that might touch on some of these, you might call them culture war issues that do pop up in other state legislatures these days as well.
Yeah, the culture wars are front and center right now for the Republican Party. We saw Mike Pence this past week announce an ad buy in Iowa protecting parents and students who don't want to see transgender issues brought in their schools. So it's been a winning issue. Representative Jim Banks famously called a year ago for Republicans to lean in on the culture wars. So we are no longer in Mitch Daniels' Republican Party where a social truce is in operation. This is a different territory here.
And we'll see how that plays out in the final weeks of the session, too. Sometimes controversies you weren't seeing on your radar end up defining a legislative session.
Especially in a budgeting year where it's slightly longer and we're watching some of these things play out, absolutely.
We'll see what happens. Our thanks to the panel. They'll be back for this week's winners and losers coming up. Also ahead, super security for Super Bowl Sunday. We'll hear from the Homeland Security Secretary on the big effort to keep things safe at the big game this weekend.